For the past 3 weeks, and when I was gone, I talked about the Zohar. Last week I talked about the Kabbalah. And I've been talking about the Emerald Tablets just a little bit. I'm going to teach some classes coming up soon about those. And I've been kind of connecting the dots, and I've been kind of showing you, we were talking about the, how our backbone and the snakes and all the symbology of what we can do. But this morning I thought, I want to tell you not just about you, but I want to show you how the universe is supporting us. And what is the universe doing to support us in this great shift? How many of you feel like things are happening in your life, that the energy is flowing so radically and things are changing so radically, you have to ground yourself? I don't know about you, but I go to the beach almost every morning and just ground myself. Just sit in that sand. That grounding does something. You release those energies. We're so filled with energies from our cell phones and from computers, and that just accelerates everything else that's going on in our body. But something so powerful is happening right now, all over the world. We traveled to Europe last year, Cher and I and some other women. The year before we went to Peru. We're seeing that people are awakening all over the world. Something's happening. Even when we were in Italy, when we went to Rome, we were asking the cab drivers that were Catholic, well, they don't go to church anymore, and they're, looking for something else. Something is happening in our world, and it's opening people's minds to change, and it's beginning to perceive the world in a new way. I don't know about you, but I'm looking at all the rules. I'm looking at things that I believed in from childhood, and I'm weighing them now. I'm saying, did that really work? The things that were so structured and so set in stone, did that really work for me? And I'm going back and, realigning with things and thinking things over again. It's like a spiritual alarm clock is going off. It's like, I always say, it's like the cosmic fingers are snapping, and we're being woken up out of this trance, this hypnotic trance that we've been in. And it's bringing to the surface truth, and that's the best thing that's happening. We're beginning to see truth surface, and it can't be stopped. That's what I want to tell you today. It cannot be stopped. Every ancient path that I have studied, we win. Every single one, and I'm going to show you a little bit why we win today. So it can't be stopped. We're on the edge of a new epoch. We're going from one information age to another. In the scriptures it says, in the end of time, which we really are, scientifically, time is being swallowed up. In the end of time, knowledge is going to increase exponentially. And that's so true. You can get on the computer, put anything you want, and have that information up in just minutes. But what's happening, something else is happening within us too, and I'm going to talk about. So the new one is dramatically more expansive, more enlightening, and it's bringing to mind all these new levels of awareness. I don't know about you, but I probably have learned, I would say probably in the last 6 months, I've learned more than I learned in the last 5 years. I'm a studier, I'm a reader. It's just something that's in me. I've done it all my life. I've done it for many, I'm not going to tell you how many, many years. I get up every morning and read 2 hours. I study. It's the passion of my life. But in the last 6 months, it's like I've gone from one thing, I was doing the Emerald Tablets, which that's going to take many months of study, the Zohar, the Kabbalah, and I'm beginning to put the pieces together. That there is one consciousness that wrote all these things in the Bible. I know the Bible, probably, I have to say, very, very well. I can see where the scriptures are on the page. When I think about a scripture, I know where it is on the page in my King James Version of the Bible. But when I began to, see that Bible was like an onion, and it had all these different, fathoms, and I could see it was a metaphysical book. But now I'm seeing it even more differently. It's like, almost your body, what's happening to us right now, like I say, if we're not grounding, we're going to get carried away because it is just so dramatic what's happening. But here's the good news. The control system, and so many people, this is what I want to tell you too, so many people around us are always talking about the bad news, aren't they? I don't know about you, but I have family members and everything always talking about the bad news. What I want to say is the control system, which is manifesting in the old epochs, can't survive in what's happening today. It won't survive, and I'm going to show you why today. Because the vibrations are changing so radically, we're going to see things implode on themselves that are going to shock us like never before. It just can't survive. It's coming down, and I'm going to explain why. An epoch is a time period in the history or the evolution of humanity. So we're talking about, what I want to talk about today is how we're going from one epoch to another right now of information. And we're seeing right now that the system is getting desperate, aren't we? You know, we're seeing all these things trying to control us. You know, have you ever noticed when sometimes something's going to be taken away from you, or I've noticed even in churches when people are leaving or whatever, all of a sudden they pull in the reins and they put more rules and they try to do all this to control people. And what we're seeing in the world right now is exactly that. That control system is desperate because the frequencies are changing so radically, they're not going to be able to control it. And I want to just read some scriptures. It's for you, because I know you want to bring the scriptures in. So listen to this. It says in Mark 4:22, and it says this 3 times in the Bible. It says, everything hidden will be revealed, and everything secret will come into the open. What are we seeing? The Mayan calendar, the 8th part of the Mayan calendar, the 8th level, also was a revelatory time. You know, we saw Enrod, and we saw all of these businessmen, and we were seeing all of these things come to light about our congressmen, about our government, about, you know, pharmaceuticals, because we're in a time of exposure like never before. The Bible talks about that time. Let me read one more to you. It says for nothing in secret that shall not, there is nothing in secret that shall not be made manifest, neither anything hid that shall not be known or come to light. That's a promise, and it's said 3 times in the New Testament, and there's a coding with 3. When you see something 3 times, you can know that it's revealing something that is really powerful. 3 is a number of revelation. 3 is a number of power over death. 3 is a number of really going up to a really higher dimension. And 3 times it says there isn't anything in secret that we're not going to know. And we're seeing it before our eyes right now. We never knew about all the things that presidents did and all that. Now everything is out in the open. So this epoch is being activated in the earth grid, but it's also being activated in the human grid, in you. I don't know about you, but probably 3 or 4 weeks ago, this friend of mine brought me a stone, which I put in my blouse. And the whole time I was speaking, I was feeling this vibration go up and down, up and down, up and down. I said to her afterward, God, I put that stone, she said, I should have told you that before. But we're feeling those things, and for a day or so, I could still feel the activation. We are so sensitive right now to what's going on. So our human grid is being reactivated. You know, things are happening in your body that you can't see, that are changing the way you think, that are changing your perceptions, changing the way you're looking at things. And for those that are open to it, if you stay in a dense state, it's not going to be as impactful as it is to those of us that are really open to it right now. Those that are really dense energy, you know, not open to it, not open to the changes, not open to what's going on in the world, it's not going to impact them as much as it is for you. Because we're open. You know, we're like those open vessels that want to understand. You know, I always say we are in a new epoch, but we haven't seen it clearly yet, have we? You know, even what's going on in here, I said, this is not perfect, because there's something new coming, but we can only do what we can do till we see it. But that's why we're connecting the dots with the Emerald Tablets, the Zohar, the Kabbalah, the Tao Te Ching, the Bible, and all the other spiritual texts, because when you can see that golden thread, you know there's something so big happening. You can see one consciousness behind it all. One consciousness around this whole globe that really is that golden thread in all of these spiritual paths. And they all teach that this immaterial, this invisible realm is really where reality is. What you're seeing is not reality. If we could just really get that, and I'm going to talk about that. You know, it's unseen to the human eyes, the real reality. We get so caught up in what we see with our eyes. And if we could know the invisible realm is really, and listen to Romans 1:20, it says this, listen to this. For the invisible things of God, or Him, which is all that is, the energy of the whole cosmos, however you want to put it, from the creation of the world, so all of the invisible things, everything invisible from the creation of the world, are clearly seen, being understood by the things that are made. What is this physical realm all about? To show us the invisible realm. It's a reflection. It's every single thing is a teacher to us of that invisible realm that are made, even His eternal power and Godhead, so that you're without excuse. So what it's saying is really humanity is without excuse, because every single thing in your life, every physical thing in your life, every situation in your life, everything that is made, everything that comes into your life is coming as a teacher. It's really there to show you something. So if you open and take that time to connect with this new photon information, this is going to expand your perception and start to integrate, and you're going to begin getting insights, because there's information portals open that have never been opened before. Like I said, I've studied for 40 years, over 40 years. And what is coming into my consciousness now, it's mind-boggling. Because there's these portals, because of the frequency that is changing on this earth, there's portals that are opening. If you're open and you're connecting, these portals are opening and you're getting new insights like never before. I mean, you're at a time that people have never been into as a corporate body ever on planet Earth. This is an opportunity, and you're here for a purpose. Every single one of you breathing right now. If you're not breathing, you're not here for a purpose. But if you're breathing, you're here for a purpose. I guarantee you. You've come. You've come with a destiny. You've come with a purpose. Not just me, but all of us. But they're opening like never before. Many of us are feeling and saying, now I see it. Why didn't I see it before? How could I have been so blind? I used to say that with religion and the Bible. You know, I read that Bible for 20 years without getting it. You know, I was literal. Everything was so literal. I was taking everything literal. And then as I began to have these experiences, I began to see that there was something deeper. You know, Jesus said, I can't even tell you the earthly things you understand. How can I tell you the deeper things for you to understand? And that's the truth. You know, until we begin, it's a step-by-step process. And there's another picture. We come in as babies, and we're fed the milk. And then we get pablum, and then we get baby food. Then we get, finally we can have a hamburger. You know, and that's the same way with our growth. You know, we come in and we don't just jump to the top of the class. We just don't jump from kindergarten to geometry. It's, you know, it says this in the Bible, precept upon precept, line upon line. And it takes that diligence to keep that study, to keep that open door, to keep on going, because it will bring you to where you want to see. So why? Because we're decoding things at totally different levels right now. I mean, I can go back and look at a Bible verse, or go back and look at the Tao Te Ching, or go back and look at the Kabbalah, which I've been doing this week. I've been going through the Kabbalah again. And I can see it in a different vein, because my brain, the grid in my body has shifted. And it's opening portals for me. And it's pressing you, and it's urging you to open to all that is. It's urging all of us at this moment. This is our moment. And to change the way we perceive the world and our universe. Do you know that you only perceive 1%? Listen to this. 1% of what's in the universe. 1%. Where's the other 99%? It's in the invisible realm. It's in that realm. This is scientific. I'm not talking spiritual right now. This is what scientists tell us. You know, within an atom is that nucleus. And then the nucleus is so tiny, and the rest is all space. You know, Cher looks real like she's solid to me right now. You know why? Because the molecules in the atom in her body are going so fast. It's like a fan overhead. Have you ever seen a fan overhead? And it's going so fast that the fan looks like it's all one and it's all solid instead of all the blades. That's what's happening right now with us. That's what this outer world is showing us. But in reality, it's not. She's mostly space. You're all spacey, Cher. I feel that way now, too. You know, Jesus would walk through the room. You know, he would go into the upper room, just walk through the door. Why? Because he could see where the space was in his body, and the space was in that door, and he could just walk right through. He knew where the denseness was. And the denseness is only 1%. The other is all space. 99% is that invisible realm that is really our reality. But our five senses can't perceive it. Kabbalah teaches that there's a physical world and there's a metaphysical or spiritual world. And then 90% of that spiritual world is where reality lies. And we are in the process. Listen, you, wherever you are right now, in the process of breaking the bonds of your five senses. They're not going to serve you like they did in the old epoch. They aren't. You have to connect to something bigger to come into this epoch. We are at this moment on a journey to a world beyond our limited perception. Everything you perceived is being shifted at this moment, guarantee you. You know, I remember when I was in religion for 27 years, so comfortable. I had in the back of my Bible every single thing that was going to happen, you know, the tribulation, everything was all lined up. I knew. And then when I began to awaken and have these experiences and leave, it was like, now what do I do? You know, I was comfortable. I was comfortable because I was all assured of what's going to happen. But when you begin to step out, you're not comfortable anymore. You know, things begin to shift and change, and you don't have that solid ground under you. You have to trust. And that's where we all are right now, really on that journey, going beyond these limited perceptions into a spiritual level. I believe that the Emerald Tablets, why they're available right now, they're all about the alchemy of matter. All about the spiritualization of our flesh, turning back into photon light. And I said a few Sundays ago, the Bible describes God. God is light. Then Jesus describes himself, I am light. Then Jesus said, and you are light. So guess what I'm looking at? Photon energy this morning. All I'm looking at is photons. You are photon energy. And I'm going to talk about that another time. But anyway, as we study the zodiac, as we study the heavens and their cycles, as we study the seed level of creation and understand in the physical, the totality of everything is in the seed level, we begin to understand more. What are they out? What's the zodiac there for? What's the planets there for? What are trees there, flowers, and all of those things? Because they all show us who we are. They have a lesson for us. And there's this law. It's called the law of concealment. And it's talked about in all of the ancient texts. And it says this, in order to reveal something, it has to be concealed. Isn't that the truth? Yeah. You know, unless it's concealed, why are we looking for it? Why are we revealing it? And our physical world teaches us a baby first, where's it concealed? In the womb of its mother, isn't it? It's concealed in the womb of its mother before it's revealed to the world. And then every invention that has ever been, that chair that you're sitting on, Pam, before you're sitting on it, where was it? It was in the mind of somebody before it was revealed to the world. Electrical current has to be concealed in the wires and cables before it can be revealed as light, just as you are in this body. And the seed of a tree has to be concealed in the earth before it reveals the tree. Michelangelo once said, you probably heard this, he said, I didn't create or carve out a sculpture out of marble. Instead, he revealed the shape that was already in it. And isn't that the truth? You dressed yourself this morning and concealed yourself this morning before you came to reveal yourself in public. And you know what I did this morning? I put all my perceptions, all my things, I conceal them in these words that I could reveal them to you today. You see, everything, there's that law of concealment. Everything that we see in this manifested world comes out of that. Let me read you this in the Bible too, what it says in Proverbs 25. I think I read this last week, but I love it. It's the glory of God, all that is, the eternal one, whatever it is, the energy of the universe, to conceal a thing. But it's the honor of kings to search out the matter. The honor of kings. And what is a king? A king is a ruler. It's those that can rule over their own life, that really have authority in their life. To want to have authority in your life, you have to know the cosmic laws. You have to search these things out. You know, we don't sit and think fairy dust is going to come down on us. Yes, meditation is the greatest thing, but it's also, knowledge is power. It says, seek knowledge, seek understanding in all the spiritual texts in the Bible, and all of them. So kings have rulership. So it confirms this law of concealment. Deep truth are always concealed. That's what makes a mystery, because they're concealed. But we're being admonished to search out those mysteries. And all you have to do is knock and seek. And guess what it says? I promise the door is going to be open. If you're just open heart. I know when I always say this, you know, when I started having metaphysical friends, you know, and I'd say Bible, the shade would come down, you know. They didn't want to hear a word about the Bible, you know, because they're all in the metaphysics. But then when we started communicating, I said, you know what, they're saying the same thing I was. They're channels, and I used to prophesize in church. When I go speak in churches, we laid hands on people and prophesize. Same thing as a channel. You know, we had saints, they had guides. I mean, it was just communication problems. We're beginning to see that things are changing, but we're beginning to admonish to search these mysteries out and to have the same things happening. I want to say something really strange has been happening in the sun too. I was reading about this week. You know, the sun goes through cycles of less activity and more activity. But around in 2011, what happened was it reduced the flares, the solar flares reduced, and it was not a predictable cycle to scientists. So they saw this down period and they were bewildered what was happening because the new sunspot cycles of activity had not become active. But guess what? And there was no one alive who had ever been on the earth, still alive today, when that cycle happened. So things are happening. That's what I want to say too. Things are happening that have never happened in our lifetime before. I mean, we're seeing things happen that are going to shock us. So they saw something was changing, and they found that other things about the sun it wasn't cycling the same way anymore. And as things begin to reactivate again, it's not only affecting Earth's energy field, but it's impacting your consciousness. When they saw it reactivate, they began to see that it was doing something to man, to humanity. And what it was doing was activating your consciousness, your awareness, your perceptions. It was reactivating everything. You know, it says in the very Genesis, it said that those things were put, the lights in heaven were put as signs and signals for us, symbols for us. And it's reacting on us. So basically, these are energies or vibrations that are dramatically changing our perceptions, dramatically changing our perceptions. As we decode the information, our awareness of the potentials are expanding. And isn't that the truth? As you begin to decode all these things and these texts, you begin to see, you know, if I'm reading the Emerald Tablets, I've said about the experience I had on the beach where my body lifted up and I had this electrical energy go through my body. I'm seeing the potentials, you know, that are so far beyond anything I ever dreamed. But we just got to keep on that path, and we're accessing greater parts of all possibilities. And the other thing is the vibrations are doing, it's breaking, this is where I want to say, it's breaking that wall between the left and right brain. So we're able to access more of our right brain potential, our creativity, our insights, and what we've always called genius. We're beginning to be able to do that. And it made me think of Barbara Marx Hubbard when I was doing this morning. You know, she wrote a book many years ago, and I don't know how I got the book. I was going to Boca Graham one time, and I was grabbing a bunch of books to take with me in my basket, because I said I'm an avid reader, and I get to Boca Graham, and I have this book. It was called Our Crisis, A Birth. And it was by Barbara Marx Hubbard, and I thought, God, I read it, I thought she was a Jewish lady, but was very biblical, knew the Bible, and through the Bible she began to wake up. And I thought, boy, her path is so much like mine. I wanted to come home and call her. I was looking for her number. I didn't know she was world famous at that time. Couldn't find her number, of course. But anyway, but it is our crisis. What's happening around you right now is a birth. I don't know about you, but I not only hear the vibration of those words. Close your eyes a moment. And just let me say this to you. Just close your eyes. Just get quiet for 1 second, and then I'm going to say it to you. And I want to see if you feel the way I do when I hear it. Our crisis is a birth. Just feel that vibration a moment. If you're opening to these powerful truth vibrations, they're shifting everything in your life. You can open your eyes now in a dramatic way. And we're going to see things begin to shift faster and faster. I've had these young people come in. I had a young man come in, comes out of the corporate world on studying all these things. They're coming so much faster than we ever did. And where we are right now, where are we right now? The curtain is being pulled back, and we're going to be shocked by what we see behind the curtain. Remember when the Wizard of Oz, when they take that screen down and they're shocked to see what's behind the curtain? That's what's going to happen to us right now, because all the curtains are being pulled back, and what's going on is nothing like we think it is. But this energetic change of enlightenment, expansion, and love is going to place a love vibration. It's breaking up all of those lower vibrations, and that's what's so powerful. You know, I was reading again about the chaos theory, and many of you know that. When a butterfly's wings flap in Brazil, it can change the weather in Texas. What about you? If that's so true, just the butterfly's flapping of a wing in Brazil makes a change in the weather in Texas. What about your thoughts? What about the words that you speak? What about the actions that you do? How much of an effect do they have on other people? You know, we think of those things, but when we bring them home and to see that it's really all about us, it changes it. You know, here's an example of what I heard David Icke say, what's happening in the world, and I love this example. When you have a dam of water, takes a long, long time for the cracks to appear in the dam, doesn't it? Years and years and years of pressure. But once the cracks appear, it's not long before the whole dam collapses. And we've seen the cracks, we're seeing the cracks. We're seeing the cracks in these elections, we're seeing the cracks in the political, we're seeing the cracks in pharmaceuticals, we're seeing the cracks in schools, we're seeing the cracks everywhere that haven't been exposed to us. But we're vitally seeing them now, so it's not going to be long. And people are saying, I've had enough. How many of you heard this? I'm just sick of politics. I'm sick of what's going on, I'm not taking this anymore. We're hearing that all the time. Those are the cracks. People are beginning to really be fed up with status quo. And it's not going to be long before we see the dam really collapse. We're going to see the control system come down as these truth vibrations increase, because a new awareness is being birthed into this reality. This crisis, a woman, they call it labor. How many of us have had babies here? How many of us were singing Zippity-Doo-Dah all the way through? I don't think so. It was definitely a labor, wasn't it? Well, this crisis is the same thing. It's going to bring about a birth. Something is happening. And these truth vibrations are really increasing, and that's what I love to call that. And a control system based on suppression can't survive. It's at its peak right now, and it's trying to survive. Right now, it's because of this moon matrix. It can only influence human perception by a vibrational frequency. But if we get out of that vibrational frequency, if we're really doing our meditation, if we're grounding, if we're connecting to that higher dimension, it can't affect us. And that's what so many of us are really looking to. These higher truth vibrations are taking us out of that frequency range. And so it's losing its influence and awakening people day by day. How many of you have just met people right on the street or in maybe a coffee shop or at the grocery store that are awakening? That are beginning to say things in new ways. You can hear how people talk if they're talking the talk, can't you? I used to be into the religious talk. Now you can hear if they're saying enlightenment or consciousness or something like that. Because we're able to perceive things we couldn't perceive before. And all these things that are chemically disabling us, like the food and drink and genetically modified foods and microwaves and drugs and the chemtrails and all those things, are all designed to externally suppress us and stop us from this truth vibration coming into our bodies. But it's a desperate act on that of control by creating a low vibrational atmosphere that they can operate in this morphic field to keep us in a low vibration. It's fighting the truth vibration. But every single spiritual path says we win. And that's what I want to say about the universe today. What we're seeing with the universe, what's scientifically being told us, is the frequency range is changing. Those low vibrations are being dissolved as these high truth vibrations are beginning to come in. We're going to see things change because our whole universe is supporting us. It's all in perfect timing for us to wake up and come in and step into higher vibrational frequencies. Can you feel it in your body? When Pam was up there this morning, when you put that fast song on and you started jumping around, couldn't you feel that vibration within yourself? It was like that vibration took us up out of the slow song into that higher vibration. Everybody was cheering after that song. That's what's happening with the universe. It was doing what Pam was doing this morning. It's cheering us on. It's getting us vibrating, that we can come up out of those low frequencies that are being an atmosphere created, that we can come up and rise above those lower frequencies and begin to function in these lower frequencies of love and peace and harmony and not be competing all the time. And let me say, every single spiritual path, there's only one way of ascension. Having a pure heart and a pure consciousness. Detaching from an ego. It's all about that. And there, in the Kabbalah, there's 3 or 4 different ways of giving. We give to make ourselves feel good. We give to have people love us. We give to get. But there's a giving that's for all humanity. There's a giving when we give because it's for the good of all humanity. And that's what we're rising up to. We all give to have somebody like us. We can all give to get. We can all give for those ways, but can we rise up and be able to give because it's the best for all humanity and not just for ourselves? What we're seeing too, just like I'm saying this stuff is fighting. We're also seeing an ego coming up in people and around this world because it's the last stance of that ego. It's all about me, but there's a giving that's coming in that's profound. But these are stronger, and they're healing the schisms, these truth vibrations are healing this separation and the distortions of the metaphysical universe, and they're impacting this new epoch. And those turning into that healing and tuning into these healing frequencies are healing the divisions and schisms within ourselves. That's what's happening to us. Just what's happening to the universe is happening to each one of us. If we're tuning in, we're being healed from separation. We're being healed from that ego that's all about self. And the control system can't survive in that frequency. It cannot survive. When we heal that schism within ourselves, and we begin to see this universe healed in separation, that control system, we don't have to do a thing. It's going to come down. So where are we now? A place of manifestation of a distortion in a physical realm is being healed. So everything you see around us, everything we see happening on television and the shootings, and we can get into all that stuff. No, rise above it. Connect to that truth vibration and know it's being healed. When it comes in before our view, it's a great thing, because before they tried to keep it behind the curtain. We didn't know what was happening. But when it comes before our view, it's being healed because it's coming to the surface. You know, it says, when you bring something to the light, it begins to heal. When you keep it in the darkness and hidden, it can't be healed, but it's being healed. So we're in a totally new era. We're in a process of moving into a human experience and moving from a sense of division from the left brain into the right brain, into oneness. We call this a oneness center because I saw that, you know, I can remember the first time I saw that scripture that I read many times before. Jesus said, I and him and you and me, that they might be made perfect in one. The only perfection that's ever going to come is when I don't see a separation between Cher and I, and when I give because it's best for Cher. You know, not just best for Mary Lou, but it's best for Cher or Mary Ann. You know, when I begin to see what I do to Mary Ann, I'm going to do to myself. We begin to really come into those higher dimensions and understand. So hold on. Hold on. Every day, every moment, every week, every month, things are moving energetically. And there's coming a tipping point in this truth vibration. It's going to become the dominating frequency of our world. The Tao Te Ching, the Mayan calendar, the Bible, every single ancient text that I have studied, the Zohar, the Kabbalah, all talk about that tipping point. And I love this scripture. David Wilcox talked about this many times, talking about the ascension, I think it's the Experiment or something like that, his new book. And what he's talking about, there's some cosmic event that's coming that's going to catapult humanity. It's like that cosmic soup that the caterpillar's in, that cosmic soup that all of a sudden those imaginal cells come together and the immune system tries to kill them, but because they've come together into this oneness, and I know that what I do to Mary Ann, I do to myself, and I begin living that, because we come together and begin to live that, all of a sudden there's this quantum leap and the butterfly comes forth. And that's where we are right now, because we're beginning to understand these things, and there's a tipping point. And it's going to become that dominant perception. We're in a river of energy right now. I don't know about you. How many of you are really feeling it? Really tell me deep down are feeling it. God, I mean, every day it's like, things are like happening faster and faster. It's like, you almost have to get your breath sometime. We're in a river, and it's getting faster and faster. And you can either get on the airboat and enjoy the ride, or you can try to hold on to the shore in those old ways of doing things and those old perceptions. But metaphysically, you're going to get swept away because you're not going to be strong enough to keep holding on to the old. Ain't going to work. Ain't going to work. We're in a new time. And we'll get washed away. People talk about that sixth sense. There's nothing compared to what you and I are going to experience. You know, I look at my little grandkids and I think about your kids. You know, I think, wow, you know, what I've experienced in my lifetime, what are these kids going to see? We talk about that sixth sense. We're already tapping into things that are other realms and dimensions. We talk about dimensionality here all the time, that there's so many dimensions. This 1% is nothing. What we're seeing today is nothing to what we're going to see. So hold on. I mean, we're the greatest show on earth right now. We're taking the ride of a lifetime. It's nothing. There's a new day dawning, and it's going to be incredible. Hold on, because all that old stuff is being washed away. You can either go with the tide, get on your airboat and go with it, or try to hold on. But it's not going to work anymore because things are happening too fast. They all tried to tell us. The Hopis, the Mayans, in their way, they all tried to tell us about your generation. In their language, they said, let me show you that generation that's coming. That everything is going to be exposed and pulled back. The Bible, we said, one more time I'm going to shake. And it's going to shake everything that is not connected to divinity and eternity and truth. And that truth vibration is coming, and you're the vessel. There's only the giver, the sharer, and the vessel. That's the only reality there is, and you're the vessel. And that truth vibration is being shared in you. And we're getting ready to see a world that's going to shift and never be the same. And so it is.
So it is.
Anybody want to